30th of September, Rabbi Furst, Parsha Hashavua.
Okay. All right. Good morning. Good Erev Shabbos. Parsha Vayeilech. Moitzi Shana Tavshin Pei Beis. Now we're in Shana Tavshin Pei Gimel. Parsha Vayeilech. So we're just learning the Rashi in the second pasuk, where the pasuk said Yomer Aleim. It says Moshe spoke to Klal Yisrael. He said Ben Mei Shana Anochi Hayom. Says today I'm 120 years old. No longer able to taste to go to come. Hashem Amari line. Hashem said to me, "Lo savro es Jordan. I shall not pass over this Jordan. I will not cannot enter into Eretz Israel." In other words, so let's take a look at the Rashi here. Rashi's explaining a bit of what these words are explaining to us.
Okay. When we're coming. Okay. Let's say lavo. I can no longer go out and come in. Yachol shetashash kocho. Okay. One might be able to, let's see, shetashash.
That's a word referring to weakness. He was weakened.
Oh, weakened, right. So his power became weakened, his strength. Okay. Talmud Lomar, the Torah says, Lo kahata eino velo nas lecho. So let's see. His eye did not hata. Kahata.
That maybe did we one sec? Did we do the first part? Anochi Hayom Hayom Molo Yomei V'Ushonos? Did we do that? 1 second. See, there was.
I don't know if I have that.
You don't have that? Anochi. It says the Rashi. Anochi Hayom Hayom Molo Yomai V'Shonosai. Yom Zeh Nolarity. Yom Zeh Amos. This day was the fulfillment of my days and years. That this is the day he was born, and this is the day of his death.
Oh, that's interesting.
I don't see that. Where are you?
No, that's a later Rashi in my
yours, yeah.
Oh, I see it.
Yeah, it's at the bottom.
Thank you.
Interesting. Okay, we'll get to it. Hold on to that. Okay, good. Now, okay, that just clarifies that. All right, interesting.
Okay, so here it says lo kachata eino velo nas lecho. So it says his eye is dim. It says.
Right, exactly. That's
and
right.
Okay, lacho is moisture.
Right, the moisture, exactly.
Okay, did not move from him, did not leave him. It's apparently a pasuk later on. Ela mahu. Let's see. La'uchal. So, but what is meant by I can no longer, la'uchal, I'm not able, will not be able. Any rashai, I don't have permission. Shet nitla mimeni harishut. Okay, for the permission has been taken from me. V'nitna liYoshua, and given to Yoshua. Oh, okay.
Oh, so this is important. Okay, so even though right, Rashi's saying that what we need, this needs an explanation, because what does it mean that he he can't go and he cannot come, right? that you might think that this is an indication that Moshe Rabbeinu's physical powers had waned, right? But no, because it says in another pasuk, his eyes didn't dim, nor did the moisture of his body cease. They would continue. What does it mean? Therefore, he's not able. I'm not permitted, right? I'm not permitted that he can no longer go in and out. And we'll have to understand what does it mean in and going in and out. But he's not able to go in and out. Many of Rishus, Yeshua. Right? It's now taken from him the command of Klal Yisrael, and the command of Klal Yisrael has now been passed on to Yeshua. So now Moshe Rabbeinu basically he's saying he's been retired. He's been retired.
Wow.
So
Okay, so Hashem Amar Eli. Okay, so Hashem said to me, Ze Perush. This is the explanation. Lo uchal od latzek b'lavo. I'm not able to further go out and come in. Lefi Hashem Amar Eli, because Hashem has said to me. Okay, so
right.
that's the command of Hashem to him. Okay.
Right.
Okay, this is the next one that you were referring to, Rabbi.
Okay, before we get to that, so hold on.
Okay.
It says, so Rashi says a double racher. I mean, there's another explanation. What does it mean? Let's say Slavo, but Divrei Torah, that to go in and out in Divrei Torah, which Melamed, that teaches that Nistamu Mimenu Masoros Umayanas Achachwa. It teaches us that they were now closed from him. He had no more access to the Masoros and the Mayanos Achachwa. So what's this supposed to mean? Masoros and Mayanos Achachwa. That's what do we think? What are these things? Masoros and Mayanos Achachwa of wisdom. That I have to try and understand what that means a bit. See Torah. This is interesting. This is important to us. Like the Masoros are like the conduits, the transmission. Transmission. He's no longer Moshe Rabbeinu no longer has access to the transmission and the well springs of wisdom, right? That the important thing in learning is that a person has to be connected to the source of Torah, which is meaning is the Kadosh Baruch Hu, right? Kadosh Baruch Hu, the source of Torah. Torah, more than anything else, emanates from a Kadosh Baruch Hu, meaning everything really emanates in one way or another from a Kadosh Baruch Hu. But more than anything else, Torah emanates from a Kadosh Baruch Hu, because Torah is the ratzon, the will of a Kadosh Baruch Hu, right? The fact that we have the written Torah, right? So we're taught that you have to listen to shofar on Rosh Hashanah, you have to eat matzah on Pesach, and you can't eat chametz on Pesach. You have to sit in the sukkah on Sukkos and take a lulav esrog and hadassim, right? So these are all manifestations, the direct manifestations of the will of a Kadosh Baruch Hu, direct manifestations. And when we are filling those mitzvahs, we become ourselves a living manifestation of the ratzon of a Kadosh Baruch Hu. Right? That's a a tremendous thought, isn't it? Mayor, don't you think, Lou, don't you think that's a tremendous concept that when you are fulfilling a mitzvah, you're a embodiment of the Ratzon of HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Yeah.
Right? In a week or so, yeah, in less than a week, no, a little bit more than a week, you'll be sitting in your sukkah, right? And be eating your first kazayas of challah in your sukkah, and that's a manifestation of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's Ratzon. Just like 6 months previously in Nisan, on Tezvav of Nisan, you were sitting in your house and you were eating matzah, right? You eat your matzah. And that was likewise a manifestation of the Ratzon of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You became on Pesach, on that night of Pesach, you became a flesh and blood manifestation of the will of the creator of the universe. Isn't that a fascinating thought?
Yep.
It's hard to get a handle on that.
Why? It seems I don't know. It seems very clear to me. But why is it
I'm
difficult?
sitting there eating matzah, and somehow that makes me a manifestation of the will of Hashem.
Of course, Hashem has commanded you to eat matzah, and that's what you're doing. No. Isn't it simple? It's a very simple equation.
It's simple to say, but I mean, to picture it, to feel it is not so easy.
Well, you're right. And when it comes to ruchnius, right? We have to, because we're physically based beings, we have to work extremely hard to approach spiritual things because we're coming from a very physical perspective, right?
Right.
But that, right? That's one of the reasons why Kadosh Baruch Hu gave us such a big brain, right? With all those brain cells, right? That the brain that He's given us is designed. It has all different capacities. It has the memory, it has imagination, it has whatever other things, analytical thinking, left side, the right side. I don't know. You talk to a brain surgeon, he'll tell you all about it much more than I know about it. But the brain that we've been given is a tool given to that we've been created with that is designed that we should be able to have a way of recognizing our creator, right? That it's a difficult thing. It's something which is completely non-physical, and at the same time is all powerful and omnipresent, and is caring and interested in us. That we should feel and try and approach that is a difficult thing. But on a very basic level, right? So that when we do our mitzvahs, any mitzvah that we do, so that's what Hashem wants, and we're embodying at that point in time, with that action, with that behavior, we're embodying the will of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We're making a concrete, and that's really what Kiddush Hashem is all about. Kiddush Hashem is that we, through our actions, are showing, right, are making clear to the world that there is a Vayeilech, there's a creator.
So in a couple of weeks, I'm going to be standing in my little hut,
Right.
and I'm going to be shaking these plants around.
Right.
And I'm telling myself, this is what Hashem wants me to do. Hashem commanded me to do this. I'm doing what Hashem said.
Correct. That's right.
That I can comprehend. But now you're saying, by doing this, I'm an embodiment of the will of Hashem.
Right.
So that's a little bit more difficult.
Okay.
Because it's I mean, I don't want to be disrespectful, but just to be frank, so we can have the conversation clear, it seems a little silly standing there waving these vegetables around.
Yeah. Well, so before you get to the vegetables, some people are going to be taking chickens and waving them around their heads also before Yom Kippur.
Yeah, well, I don't do that. I do that with money.
Okay, you even taking the money
So,
and waving the money around your head also is a little bit silly. I mean, look when
plants are worse. It's like, what am I doing?
Yeah. Well, and what about blowing the shofar? A couple of days ago, we were blowing shofar, blowing this horn, right? So, what's that all about? You can think about any of the mitzvahs. You're wearing tefillin, these black boxes here, palace, right, with these strings attached, right? So, what people do, like, see, if you ask a person who's he's going up to a lottery booth and he's buying a ticket for the lottery, right? So you'll ask him, what are you doing? He says, I'm buying a lottery ticket. He says, why do you want to buy a lottery ticket? He says, I want to win. I want to get rich, right? So he knows the odds of him winning that lottery are who knows how many thousands or millions to his disadvantage, right? So he asked if he gave thought about what he's doing. It's also silly. Avram Avinu, I think we mentioned this once or twice. The Medrash says gives us a glimpse into the methodology of Avram Avinu. Avram Avinu, in his early career, when he was still working, he was working for his father, right? He was working for his father. You probably read the Medrash, you've heard the Medrash perhaps, that one day Avram Avinu's father, Terach, left the store where they would sell idols and told his son Abraham to mind the store, right? So the store was filled with all kinds of different deities, idols, right? And so a couple of customers would come in and they would ask for an idol. So he had one big, strong fellow. He was like a wrestler type of a guy, one of these sumo wrestlers. He comes into the store and he says to Avram Avinu, he says, I want a deity that's going to make me strong, right? Deity's going to make me strong. So Avram Avinu said to him, okay, how about this one? This is a big and mighty deity, right? So he packed it up and he gave the fellow his newly acquired idol, and he said to him, says, listen, by the way, before you leave, tell me, how old are you? He says, oh, I'm 38 years old. He says, okay. So that idol you bought just now, we made it yesterday in the back in the kiln. We just fired it up yesterday. It was clay yesterday. Now we formed it and we made it into an idol. And now we fired it, and it's only one day old. So isn't it silly that you who's 38 years old are going to bow down to something which is made of clay and is only here in this world for a day? So the person heard it, and he said, "Okay, teach me the truth." And Avramino said, "Well, listen, there's a Rebbeinu Shalom, Adon Hakol. He's master over everything. He's infinite, and he's limitless, and he's ageless." And he heard it. A woman came into the store. She said, "Avramino, I want an idol that's gonna make me stay beautiful. I want to stay beautiful." Says, "Here's a very nice one. There's a view." Packed it up. And she's walking out. Same thing. He says, "By the way, tell me, how old are you?" Says, "I'm, 26. And he says, "Well, listen, this idol we just made yesterday. Isn't it strange that you're a 26-year-old going to bow down to an idol was just made yesterday?" He went through the whole thing and turned her to serve a Kadosh Baruch Hu, turned her into a true believer of a Kadosh Baruch Hu. So Avraham Avinu, looked at these people and he tried to show them the folly, the foolishness of what they're doing, right? So let's take a more personal example. Person has a dental appointment, right? So he goes to the dentist. Dentist prods and pushes here and takes x-rays here, and comes back after a few minutes, says, "Listen, you got yourself a hole here, right? Got yourself a cavity," right? So I said, we better take care of it now, early, and save yourself a lot of trouble down the line. So I said, "Okay." So the dentist gets to work, starts drilling, right, patching, whatever he does. If you look at the situation, it looks pretty silly, no, Lou? Oop, I think you're muted.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was muted. Yeah, it looks silly and it feels silly.
Let's take another example. Guys going to the gym, right? So he's got all these work. He's got these treadmills. He's got these weight machines. He's got all these things, right? So if you look at it, looks pretty silly, no?
Yep.
Pretty silly.
How about that one? That's pretty clear what's going on.
Well, if you know what's going on, let's take another example. Let's say a person goes to a hospital, right? And you take along, you want to visit somebody in the hospital, and unfortunately, lo aleinu, the person's is hooked up to all these got all kinds of tubes and monitors and intravenous and all kinds of special apparatus, and you take someone with him, and the person's never. You take an Aborigine. Just came off the plane from Australia, an Aborigine, right? You showered him, and says, "Come, I want to show you something." So you take this Aborigine into the hospital room, and you see this person. He's lying there in a bed, and he has all these machines and wires and tubes hooked up to him. And what do you think this Aborigine thinks about this? He thinks this
Pretty silly.
person is more. It's more than silly. He said. I would think he say to him, "This person is a king. Look at this. This person is a king. Look how they're treating this person. Look at all these things that he has. Look at the tremendous care and support that this person's getting. This person must be a king. He must be tremendously powerful, right?" doesn't realize that all those things are life support systems that are necessary to keep this person healthy and alive. This person, right, needs all these things to maintain his health and his well-being and his life, in fact. And the Aborigine thinks that this is power. This is power. Look at all these things he's attached to, right? All these people walking around, with just in their clothes and their sneakers and just walking around free and easy. These people, they're missing out. Look at all these benefits they could be getting, like this person in this hospital bed attached to all the life support systems, right? Because he doesn't understand the background behind what he's seeing. So it's true when you look at, you take a person, he's sitting, he's lying on his left-hand side and he's eating these wafers, these crackers, and he's taking these vegetables and he's shaking them. He's blowing this horn, and he's sitting in this hut, right? So all these things, right? If you don't understand the background behind it, for a person who's unknowledgeable, it does look strange and unusual and foolish, right? But if you realize that, what is the background behind of all these actions? It's the commands that we do this, right? It's a command from a Kadosh Baruch Hu. It's a command from the one who created and maintains the whole of the universe, right? So then those acts, they cease to become from being foolish, and they become highly significant. But to a certain extent, it's true. If you remember, we had a discussion. If you want to take a look back, it was in Parshas. I have to find it for you. It was in Parshas. There's some Rashis. We discussed these Rashis. And it's in Parshas Vayeilech. If you want to go back, if you have a Chumash Devarim, back to Perek Daled in Devarim.
Oh, Perek Daled.
Dalit. Okay, what pasuk?
Vav, I believe it is.
Which number?
Vav, Perek Daled, pasuk Vav.
Okay, 1 second.
Oh yeah, I remember discussing this.
Mm-hmm. Right. Like to read the pasuk, man?
Okay, it said Ushmartem v'asitem ki hi hachmatchem uvinatchem le'enei ha'amim asher yishma'un et kol hachukim ha'ele ve'amru rak am hacham v'navon hagoy hagadol hazeh. Okay, so what you shall guard and do, that what because of the wisdom, because of your wisdom, okay, and your understanding in the eyes of the people, okay.
Actually, I mean the nations, in the eyes of the nations.
Oh, of the nations. Oh, okay. Who will hear Yishmaun? Okay. All these laws, and they will say, Rock, only a wise Navon, understanding people is a great nation, is this great nation. Oh.
So,
Boy, how good.
yeah, so Lou, you remember some of the things we discussed about this pasuk?
Yeah. That if we're doing correctly all of the mitzvahs, then the non-Jewish world will come to respect us for it.
Right. And the most direct and positive way of doing the mitzvahs properly is through learning. The more we learn, right, the more the mitzvahs are in terms of their relative significance to us, and also the things that we're doing have so much more meaning for us personally as well. And this pasuk here is a testimony to the fact that when we do things right, the non-Jews, the rest of the world will sense this. Now, how they exactly sense this or not, it's a funny thing. I mean, first of all, you have to realize human beings are very, very intelligent creatures. You know, even if you take even a child will get a feeling if a person likes him or not, right? There are so many different cues and indications of various different things that people are able to be sensitive to, that even young children have an ability to sense the approval or disapproval of people or other things as well. So even the non-Jews, even if they know nothing about what we're doing or why we're doing it, but if they sense that we're doing it from a true motivation, so they will find places in their hearts to respect and also love us for those things, right? And that's something which Kadosh Baruch Hu is saying here in this pasuk, that this pasuk is a testimony to the fact that if we are shomer shmartem, if you shmartem and shmira, the shmira of the mitzvahs is meaning to learn about the mitzvahs, vasisim, and actually to fulfill the mitzvahs, right? So if we're going to be doing that, actually, that's exactly what Rashi says. Shmartem. What does the shmartem mean? If you look there in the pasuk above there, right? Shmartem zu Mishnah. That's Mishnah. That's learning, right? That's what Rashi explains. That's the learning of the Torah, right? And then what's wasisem? Kimashmo. Wasisem is actually doing that. So when we learn about the mitzvahs, and when we then, following our learning, we do the mitzvahs, so this is what I was referring to previously. This is the manifestation of a Kadosh Baruch Hu's will, because if we're doing it properly, right, meaning if we learn the mitzvahs properly, so we're learning what a Kadosh Baruch Hu wants us to do according to his will, and then if we're doing it that way with that knowledge in mind, so then we become the manifestation of his will. But if there's going to be could be even a slight deviation from what Hashem wants, even if we're doing the same ma'aseh, if we're doing the same action, if there's some deviation in some way, it could be could be the opposite effect. We see this, for example, Mayor, you may know this because you're a Kohen. There's such a thing when with the Kohen and bringing a korban. It's a concept known as pigul. Pigul
Right.
is a nullification, is a disqualification of the korban, meaning, and this is something which is dependent upon in many cases, there are several different ways this is manifest, but this is something which is manifest by an inappropriate thought of the coin at the time of doing the avoda of the particular korban, meaning the korban has certain requirements, what has to be done physically to do it, right? I mean, it has to be shechted, it has to be, then the blood has to be drained, and then it has to be the skin removed, and then it has to be dismembered in a certain proper way, and it has to be burnt in a certain proper way, certain parts burnt, certain parts not burnt, certain parts eaten, certain parts disposed of in other ways. And at the time, especially the time of the Shechita, which is in many cases one of the most crucial times in the timeline of a korban, if there's an improper thought, meaning let's say the Kohen had a thought that should be for a different korban, or it should be eaten at a different time, or should be eaten at a different place than it's supposed to be prescribed by this particular mitzvah, the korban becomes invalid. And the Kohen nullifies the ability of this korban to be brought on the Mizbeach, even though everything physically has been done perfectly, right? The Shechita took place perfectly, the knife was perfect, everything was done perfectly, absolutely. But if there was a slight deviation in the kavana, the thoughts and motivations of the Kohen in dealing with this particular korban, then the korban can become pigul, and it actually becomes nullified and invalid in all cases. So you see that the physical act itself, although very important, right, very important, but the actual carrying out of the act has to be done not only previous to the act with sufficient learning of what needs to be done, but also during the act there has to be sufficient carrying out of the mitzvah in its proper way, according to the way Hashem wants. And if it's going to be the way Hashem wants, then, as I said, that's going to be the embodiment, the incarnation of Hashem's will. That is the Hashem's will. And as we said, the example from the korban is, even if it's going to be done with all the absolute physical parameters fulfilled perfectly, but if the intellectual aspects of the fulfillment of the mitzvah is missing in certain respects, then that could invalidate the whole physical act itself. Right? And again, only Kadosh Baruch Hu is going to know that. Only Hashem will know that. Right? There isn't not no other way to know it. And that's Yirah Shamayim comes in. Right? Yirah Shamayim comes in because only Kadosh Baruch Hu can know these many things when it comes to mitzvahs, what the person's exact motivation, and without those proper motivations, a person can actually change the same physical act. If it's positively done in the proper way, he can elevate that act. And if it's done with the wrong intentions, motivations, kavanas, he can completely ruin the act. Meaning, we just had Rosh Hashanah, so there's a halacha by Rosh Hashanah that if you want, let's say you're blowing shofar, and you want to blow for somebody else, so that person who's listening to your blowing of the shofar has to have in mind that he wants to fulfill his mitzvah with you blowing for him, and you at the same time also have to be having in mind that you're blowing for him to fulfill his mitzvah. And then you have what we call a person who's motzi and a person who's yusi. And most commonly that takes place at Friday nights at Kiddush. Come home from shul and you want to make Kiddush. So you're going to, everyone else is chayev in Kiddush. We're men and women all together, are chayev in Kiddush. And one person's going to be, there's some people have the minute that everyone makes their own Kiddush. right? But many people don't have that minhag that the head of the household makes the kiddush, and in which case, if that's the existing minhag, then the person who is making the kiddush should have positive intention that he should have in mind to fulfill everybody's mitzvah of kiddush, and everyone in mind should be listening that they are going to be fulfilling their mitzvah through the agency of the person who's actually making the kiddush, the person who's the head of the family. So the kavanah of the mitzvah is very important, and if we're doing the mitzvahs with the proper kavanah, so then the non-Jews have a ability to sense this, because I think it's just a common human trait that human beings are sensitive enough, intelligent enough beings that they have the ability to understand if things are being done honestly or not, properly or not. So that's the way we have to try and approach our mitzvahs. And if we do, then as the pasuk says, that's going to be our uvinosim. It's going to be our wisdom and our intelligence, our wisdom and our understanding in the eyes of the goyim. And if not, right? So that was, if you remember, that was contrasted with the pasuk. We had a pasuk in Parsha's Hukah, that's in Midbar, and Sefer Midbar, if you have that nearby, in Parsha's Hukos. We spoke about this at the time then as well, that that is a the very first part in Midbar, chapter 19. If you have your test, if you happen to have it there, or
19.
So you look there again, if you remember, that was the chapter 19, the second pasuk Beit, if you remember. We'll see the Rashi in a minute.
Okay, let's see.
1912,
And 19, number 2.
19:2.
Oh, this is about the red heifer.
You're right.
Oh. Okay.
This is the one where Rashi says that the nations will make fun of us.
Exactly right. Take a look at the. Do you want to read the pasuk and the Rashi, Mayor?
Well, I can read the pasuk. I can't read the Rashi script though. Okay. Zot chukata Torah asher tzivah Hashem lemor. Daber al bnei Yisrael vayichu elecha para aduma tamima asher ein ba mum asher lo ala aleha o. Okay, so it's a decree of the Torah, which Hashem commanded, saying, speak to the children of Israel that they shall take a cow completely red, without blemish, and that has not had a yoke come upon it.
Right. So in this Rashi says Zos chukas Torah, right? Rashi says Lefisha and Umas Oilam Monias Israel lemor, since the Yetzer Hara and the nations of the world they'll jeer at Klal Yisrael. They'll make fun of the Jews. They'll say, "Ma mitzvah azos? What's this mitzvah? Uma tam yesh bezen? What kind of a reason is behind it?" They're going to see us, and they're not going to be happy with what they see. They're going to make fun of us, right? The lefika kasaba huka. Therefore, in this case, it says huka. Gezerah hi lefanai. It's a gezerah lefanai.
So I have I have a new issue that just popped up based
Okay,
on
look,
what you said before
okay,
and what we just read.
good, okay,
Basically, in trying to clarify to me an understanding of how to relate to the mitzvahs, you drew several analogies to basically situations where the person is ignorant
right,
and he doesn't know what's going on. And so it
Right.
seems silly to him.
right,
So it would seem then that the logical conclusion from that, it would be that I should become more knowledgeable, more learned.
okay,
And given that I have better understanding of the spiritual significances of all the different factors, like the case of the guy in the hospital where he's got all these things going on, and you have an understanding of what they all do, then you can then it doesn't seem silly to you. So similarly, in the spiritual realm, if I have a greater understanding of all of the different things that are happening, then it wouldn't seem so silly. But now here we have Rashi saying, where is it? It says, Ein lecha reshus lehar her achareha. And my translation says, you do not have the right to reflect upon it. Har her, I guess, is what they're translating as reflect or to question.
That's better. Question. It's much better if you say question. Reflect is sort of part of it. It doesn't really bring out the point that the question it. You have no right to question it. Right.
Right.
Good.
So if what I just said earlier that I learned from your explanations is that I should be delving into these things and understanding them, so that I'm not like the Aborigine, then that contradicts the concept here that Hashem says, don't delve into this and understand it and question it.
So see, questioning it, the questioning it in this aspect is not simply trying to understand the reasons for it, right? Questioning in this context means a questioning. It means when you question the authority of something, you question the authority of somebody, right? You question the veracity of something, the truth of something, right? That's what it means here. We have to accept. That's the whole point. You have to accept it as a chayk. What's the meaning of chayk? You have to accept this as a complete decree, whether we understand it or not, from Kadosh Baruch Hu. If you understand it as a complete, absolute decree from emanating directly from a Kadosh Baruch Hu, it's a command from a Kadosh Baruch Hu. So you don't have any opportunity to question the command. The command exists, right? And only if you're going to come to a conclusion that when we do these mitzvahs, right, we're doing these mitzvahs because Hashem commanded it. If that's your overall approach, so then you have the ability and the opportunity, and it's a mitzvah to try and analyze them as much as possible. Because the more you analyze the mitzvahs and question the mitzvahs in terms of their reasons and the different details in terms of the fulfillment of these mitzvahs, in terms of the halacha, you'll understand the greater wisdom behind it. So you have no just because in these cases, these chukim, just because you're not able to fathom the true reason for it, right? That, and in spite of that fact, that does not stop you from fulfilling it, because the reason you're fulfilling the mitzvah is because it's a command from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, right? The reason why Hashem is commanding you to do this and this and this, so you're not always able to understand all those details.
So let's go back to the Arbamim. So I do it because Hashem said do it.
Right.
And I've been doing it for, I guess, 35 years or so.
Okay.
And over those years, I've learned a lot about it.
Right.
I don't know if I'm not saying that I'm an expert on it, but I've learned a lot of the symbolisms. It stands for the 4 kinds of Jews, and it stands for the 4 different parts of the body. And you're bringing together, you have the smell and the taste and the different combinations. And you're bringing all the different kinds of Jews together. So I've learned a bunch of stuff about it.
Right.
But nevertheless, I don't relate to this idea that I'm becoming a manifestation of the will of Hashem when I shake the lulav.
Okay.
So what is so I'm like the Satan, or the Yetzer Hara is saying this to me. Yetzer Hara is saying to me, what is this? What are you doing? What's the reason? And I'm saying, I don't know. So how is Hashem answering this according to Rashi?
Well, because that's the whole point. The answer is, in spite of the fact I may not know the reason of why I'm exactly doing what I'm doing, but I know that I'm doing it because it's a command of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's the ultimate answer. That's the ultimate reason. Whether we understand the mitzvahs or not, we understand that we're doing them because this is the will of HaKadosh Baruch Hu that we do this. To some degree or another, we can understand, or we can try and understand some type of wisdom behind why Hashem is commanding us to do this and this and this. Why is Hashem saying that we should take an estrogen instead of a watermelon, right? Because the obvious reason is because a watermelon's too heavy, right?
Right.
So,
even more silly.
Yeah, it's even more silly. So, but you take a look at some of the tamanim estrogen. They're the size of a small melon, not as big as a regular watermelon, but they're pretty big. They're pretty big, right? So okay, look, we have time before Sukkot. Maybe we can continue to discuss this particular train of thought, and hopefully can make it a little bit more palatable.
Okay.
I don't want to go over time. We've gone over time anyway at this point. So we'll try and continue sooner or later on this particular. You can bring up the question again, and we'll try and approach it and make it hopefully more understandable. As Hashem.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Rabbi.
Have a good
Shabbos.
Shabbos,
Have a good
Rabbi.
Shabbos, and we'll see you Yom Rishon Mitzvah Shem.
Okay.
Shabbat
Very
shalom.
good. Shabbat
See you.
shalom.
Bye.
Go to